Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another Championship predictions video. I'm joined by Sophie. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. We've got some big fixtures to predict this weekend. I don't know how many of the games are going to go ahead, but let's talk about them. We'll start with Friday night. We've got Barnsley versus West Bromwich Albion, the Valerie and Ismail derby. Obviously, Alex Mauer and Ismail left Barnsley last season when they finished in the playoffs. They moved on to West Brom, and West Brom were in the playoffs coming into this. But West Brom have snuck up on the top two. If they win, they could catch up with Bournemouth. Barnsley, I don't see any point in predicting them to win at the moment. So, Barnsley 0, West Brom 1.
Yeah, for me, I think it's looking more and more likely that Barnsley are going to be going down this season. They're either drawing or losing. I think the last one was back early on in November against Derby, so it's not looking good for them. Saying that, West Brom, I wasn't that impressed with them when we played them. They're obviously a very good team, and they have got a better team than us, and I think they're going to do Barnsley 2-0.
2-0. Next up, we'll go to the lunchtime games on the Saturday. We see Cardiff City take on Derby County. Cardiff, a bit tricky to predict. They did rescue a good point at Birmingham last weekend, 2-2. Their form's been a bit patchy, but they're still dangling above the bottom three. Need to win this one, really, to put some breathing space between them and Peterborough, who won last week. Derby beat Blackpool last week, so back to winning ways, but they really need to get back-to-back wins to start making some inroads. I might go for a tight 1-1 draw here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is going to be a tight game. However, I'm going to back Cardiff to win. Like you said, they were 2-0 down against the Blues and they managed to pull it back to 2-2, so that's a great result. And I think they're going to carry a little bit of that momentum going forward against Derby. So I'm going to back them to win 2-1.
2-1. Next up we go to the Riverside. Middlesbrough take on AFC Bournemouth. Middlesbrough picked up a 0-0 at Stoke last week. It keeps them chugging along, but if they could just get some more wins in there, they could make some real progress towards the top six. They seem to me a team that could be on the cusp of the playoffs this season. AFC Bournemouth, meanwhile, they could fall into the playoffs from the other side. They're second, and their recent form is horrific. They haven't won in about 5 or 6 games. They need to win here, but I don't think it's going to be easy. What's his name? Wilder's got Middlesbrough organised, and I think Bournemouth will probably take a draw, so I'm going to say 1-1.
Yeah, I think Middlesbrough are going to set up very, very defensive against Bournemouth, but if this was about 7 or 8 games ago, I'd say Bournemouth would absolutely romp it, but as you said, their recent form has took quite a dip, but I think they're going to get back to winning ways against Middlesbrough. It's going to be a tight game. I'll back them 1-0.
1-0. Next up we go to the 3 PM kickoffs. We've got Blackburn Rovers versus Birmingham City. Now logic tells you go for Blackburn and a heavy win, but Birmingham City, when you least expect it, will pop up with a result, and they could do here, but like I say, I'm going to go with logic. Blackburn look very good. Ben Brereton Diaz looks good. He's got a lot of quality, a lot of firepower. And I know we always say Blackburn have a dip. They have that dip with Tony Mowbray. But if they could just keep pushing on up until New Year, they could have 50 points or so by then.
That's when he dips anyway, isn't it? After Christmas.
If they can get to a certain amount of points, then they only have to fall over the line to at least finish in the playoffs, because they've set the bar really high now. Blackburn 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same. I think Blackburn, for me, they've got to get the win here. I think they're going to be high on confidence. Blues, after conceding 2, being 2-0 up, their confidence might be slightly affected. And yeah, being away from home as well, it's not going to be easy. So I'm going to back a Blackburn 2-1 win. Blackburn
2-1. Next up we go to Bloomfield Road. Blackpool versus Peterborough United. Now, you'd think, looking at the table, Blackpool should win this, but their recent form hasn't been great, and Peterborough did get a win last week. I know they're not good on the road, but if Peterborough were to win this, then it throws everything back open. Blackpool will feel like they're maybe not safe just yet, and Peterborough will feel like they're really starting to make some progress here. I don't think Peterborough are going to win, but I think this could be a close game. Blackpool need to win, but I might go for a share of the spoils here, 1-1.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, because Blackpool started really strong and they just seem to be dropping off a little bit. I'm going to back them to win because Peterborough aren't very good on the road. I know they've just got a win, but I think they're going to follow it up with a loss. So 1-0 Blackpool.
1-0 Blackpool. Next up, Bristol City take on Huddersfield Town. 2 teams we've seen in the recent weeks against Coventry City, and I've got to say, not great.
By either.
Not great, but maybe we caught them on their off days. Bristol City on their day can be good. They have got good players. The same could be said about Huddersfield Town. That's why they've been on the cusp of the playoffs this season. But when they play Coventry, I haven't massively been impressed. Big opportunity for both teams, though. Can they get these 3 points in before Christmas? I'm literally rolling a dice here. Bristol City 1-0.
I'm going to back a draw here. I think, yeah, it's two teams that, in my eyes, they're both underperforming. And I think they're both not playing well, to be honest. So I think they'll both be happy with a point here. I'll say 1-1.
1-1. Next up we go to the CBS. Coventry City take on Stoke City. It's a big game because it's 6th versus 7th and the winner will spend Christmas in the playoffs. Coventry have been outside the playoffs for a week or two now. We want to get back in there. It's not an easy game though. Stoke City last season, we drew 0-0 with them at home, but we did beat them away 3-2. Stoke have been better this season than they were last season though, and I don't know. Coventry haven't won at home in a little while, but go on. Coventry to sneak a 2-1 win here.
Yeah, it's so tempting to just back a draw because at the moment we just love drawing, and Stoke, I think they'd be happy with a draw because their form at the CBS, now the CBS, isn't very good. So I think they'll make it really hard for us. And if you look at their team, they have got a good team. They have got a good team. So I think it's going to be a difficult game. But I think we're going to do it. I'm going to back us to win 2-1.
2-1. Come on the Sky Blues. Next up, Millwall take on Preston. Millwall, a big defeat against Peterborough last time. They could have made some real progress. They were winning that game and closing in on the top 6 with Stoke dropping points, but they lost to Peterborough. Meanwhile, Preston got off to a winning start under Ryan Lowe. Both want to get a win here. Obviously, Preston will want to get back-to-back wins under Ryan Lowe. Millwall will want to get back to winning ways before Christmas. This looks to me like a low-scoring affair. Yeah. Millwall 1-0.
Yeah, I always back Millwall 1-0, so I feel like I'm going to have to switch it up and say 1-1. Okay. I do think there could be goals from both teams, but I can't see there being more than 2 goals for me. So either Millwall 1-0 or a 1-1, and I'll back 1-1.
1-1. Next up to the City Ground, Nottingham Forest versus Hull City, 2 of the informed teams in the division. Nottingham Forest are absolutely doing bits. Over the last 15 games, the form table, they'd be top. They're averaging 2 points per game. It's promotion form, it's automatic form. How long can they keep it going though? If they keep this going for another 5 or 10 games, then they could really push into the top 6 and even push towards the automatics. It's about when it slows down. Will it slow down? I don't know. Steve Cooper's got them very well organised. They smashed Swansea 4-1 last week. They've got so much talent in there with Grabban and Brennan Johnson, Lyle Taylor, Zinkernagel. I could go on. I've said how good I think Forest are. But Hull City, let's not forget, they've been on a decent little run themselves. They did drop points late on against Bristol City last week. They want to go back to winning ways here. I think this will be a good game, but I'm going to back Forest 2-1.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you say. I think they made a great decision in getting Steve Cooper in, because since he's came in, he's doing such a job. So Forest fans, you've got to be happy with the job he's doing. Yeah, saying that, I think it's going to be a pretty convincing win for Forest over Hull. So I'm going to back a 3-0 win. 3-0. Next up we go to Loftus Road, Queen's Park Rangers versus Swansea. I am aware this game has been postponed, but the amount of games that are going to get postponed, we still predict them anyway for when they come around, and then we tally up our predictions. So I don't know when this game's going to come around. It could come at a point when Swansea are in good form and QPR are in bad form. If I was to predict it for this weekend, maybe go for QPR. Swansea haven't looked great lately, but I'll go for a 1-1 draw when this game comes around. Yeah, so if it was for this weekend, I'd say 2-1 QPR, just because Swansea, they're playing well, but they're not in good form. They're not getting the results they need. So I'm just going to stick with that. I don't know when it'll be played, but I'll just assume they're in the same form. So 2-1 QPR. 2-1
QPR. Next up is Reading versus Luton Town. Reading in a bit of a precarious position. I looked at their stats against West Brom. They didn't play particularly great. It's weird with Reading. I think on their day they're actually not too bad. Yeah. They've got a couple of decent players with the likes of Andy Carroll and Danny Drinkwater now. They've got experience there, but it looks to me as if they're going to be in a relegation battle. That 6 points has really stuck them in there. Against Luton, who I've said on their day are very good, but it's just about if they turn up. I think this will be a draw, 1-1.
Yeah, I think I'm going to back a 0-0 here. I think, yeah, Reading, for me, they should be getting the win. But Luton, they do play good football. I know if you look at like XG tables, they're right up there, to be honest. But they're not finishing their chances, so that's what's shooting them in the foot at the moment. So saying that, I think it's going to be a fairly boring 0-0 draw.
Fairly boring 0-0 draw. The last game's on the Monday. Craven Cottage, Fulham versus Sheffield United. 2 teams that came down last season. Fulham have obviously been fantastic, although their recent form has seen them drop a little bit, but I still think, even when they have their wobble, I look at Fulham and say, you're going to get promoted this season. Sheffield United want to get promoted. Their form's a bit hit and miss. Their last game was called off against QPR, but in general it's been better under Heckingbottom, and they're making some progress. They look to me as if a team that could possibly sneak into the playoffs at best, but this is a tough game for them. So I'm going to go for Fulham 1-0.
Yeah, I was going to say 1-0 as well, so I'll spice up and say 2-0. I think Mitrovic is just in unreal form. Anytime you see Fulham have scored, you just think it's going to be that man again, and most times it is. And yeah, Sheffield United, I think they are going to set up pretty defensive, but Fulham, I think on their day they're just going to have too much, so 2-0.
2-0 Fulham. That wraps up today's predictions, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. Obviously, the next predictions will be for Boxing Day's games. Can't wait. All the fixtures coming at us over Christmas. It's going to be mental. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Peace out.